Okay, so we're going to go over a dribbling tutorial for you today. By the end of the video, you should know how to dribble like a pro player. People always ask me all the time, how do I dribble? How do I maneuver? But there's a lot of things people forget about. Although there's some new skills and some new dribbling features this year, people always forget about how do you actually dribble like a pro player on the basic level. And what's the best way to explain this to you, but with a live gameplay example. Now, what I want to show you something is the most important thing is the touch. Have a look at my opponent. You see how my opponent is running, then does a ball roll, then tries to run into me? That is the wrong thing to do. The first thing is you want to take a touch into the space available. If you're part of the Patreon series, you know this is the most important video I always talk about. You got to keep the ball safe first. If you don't know how to keep the ball safe, look at this. I'm never going to lose the ball by keeping the ball safe. This is very, very important. Wherever you see there's space available, you take a touch into that area. But how do you maneuver? Now, the more clunkier the player, like De Jong, the harder it is going to be to move. If I give the ball to, for example, to Batcher, have a look at how liquid she is. She can move. Look how liquid she can move. And I can even sprint, turn into an exit. Not everyone else can do that. So first of all, your first touch has to be perfect, okay? Has to be perfect. Then you can running. Now, don't run. You'll see a lot of top tier players, they combine this, they run together, but the difference is they know when to turn like this, when to turn away. They know when to do all that. But as you can see, I lost the ball with Sunday. You see I took the ball in a risky situation. I'm never, even at my level, anyone's level, even pro level, if you take a touch as my opponent did and you walk into your opponent, you're always going to lose the ball. Now, I'm going to show another example. Look at that. Try doing a skill move in front of me. What did he think that was going to happen? Now watch this. I'm now going to take a touch upwards. Do you see where my opponent went? Expected what I was going to do and won the ball. That is why I said to you that first touch is important. So wherever the danger is not there, you take a touch. If that means you go backwards, then fine. But you got to take a touch. You can only take a touch forward if there's space. Like select here, I got to take a touch backwards. You see, I can't take a touch forward there. That's the first thing. Now the second thing is your second touch. So when you take your first touch into the space, your second touch is important. Because you need to then counter, and then you can rotate your left analysis, and then you can turn, and then you can speed away like I did, like so. Now, next I want to talk about is strafe dribbling. Now, we all know there's this new meta, but this is currently the meta right now. It's using a strafe button and then sprint boosting into an area. It's like a meta right now. You can't really abuse it. If you're up against a good defender, it's more you're waiting for a defender to make a mistake, and then you're trying to sprint. See it like that? See that little clip I just showed you, that little bit of an example? That's how you do it. So you hold the L1 button and then you strafe into the space. That is how the top tier players right now in the higher divisions are using themselves to get away with it. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is controlled sprint. Now, controlled sprint is like a halfway between left stick and running, okay? So you hold the R1 button and you can go into this controlled sprint motion. As you can see, this is normal left stick. This is normal running. And then this is, as you can see, control sprint. Now, with control sprint, you can take, look at this. I'm going like in a circle, right? But you can see, look, I can't get away with everything. So when you're using this, if you're thinking, oh, I can use this to go and run past my opponents. No, you can't. You need to use it when it's the right time. So this is the wrong place to use it. You cannot be using it in your own half like this. It's risky. Only because Batcher is very agile. And of course, I know how to left stick dribble, but it's very, very risky. So a combination of this is actually key. So what you would do is a bit of control sprinting, just a tiny bit. Then you can do a bit of strafe dribbling because you take small, minute touches. You can see my opponent is just running back now because then they know they can't get it. They control the ball a little bit. Then, for example, you can use a skill move, whatever you want to. Then you can keep it basic, simple left stick touch. Let the opponent panic. Then when you get that chance to take that shot, then you can take it. Do you want to get better at FC25? Now, before you skip ahead, what if I told you if you joined my FC school and you didn't get better after 1 month, I'll refund your money? I can say this because I've been running my FC school for many, many years and thousands of students join and even stay on. We go over complete in-depth gameplay tutorials showing you both the theory of something and the gameplay examples using real-life examples in a structured format that's like a course. The videos are on a systematic learning system teaching you everything from the core mechanics, the basics to the meta so you can get better as a whole with explanations that go beyond the scope of my YouTube channel. FC School has already started with every single tactical layout, focuses, meta cards, and learn the meta before it even becomes the meta. So come join thousands of others in a mature audience community for those looking to get better at FC25, patreon.com/nilguides, or click the link down below. Now, when you join, we already have a library of hundreds of videos, more than my YouTube channel, in fact, with new videos on FC25 getting constantly added so you'll never run out of content. The biggest mistake people do is they spend thousands of dollars on FP points every year thinking this will make them better, but it won't. But now it's time for you to make that change. Don't forget, if you don't get better after 1 month, just send me a message and I'll refund your money. That's the Nil Guides guarantee. Links down below in the description, patreon.com/nilguides. So you're using a combination of all of them together. Now, why does the player matter? It's because the taller the player is, even if someone is 6'1", but they've got 99 agility and balance, they're going to feel clunky. How do you know if a player is good at dribbling? Well, it's very, very simple, okay? Let me just tell you, okay? The Neil Garrett's way. All you got to do is you go to a player and you look at them, you see to them, how tall are they? Now, if their height is above 5'10", now this is maybe a bit of an extreme one. If the height is above 5'10", you got to think they're clunky. The better agility and balance they have, the better they're going to feel on a ball. But if you have someone who's, for example, 6'1" with 99 agility and balance, they're still going to feel clunky. That is why all the women players in the team are meta. Players like Deville, because as you can see, she's 5'4". So even if she's 5'4" and she doesn't have the agility and balance, she's still going to feel liquid on the ball. Struggling in a bad connection, the more liquid a player, the shorter the player, the more seamless it will move. Remember that. So when you're dribbling, just remember that and take that into account. Now, they do still have agile dribbling. The button has been changed, by the way, for agile dribbling. They've changed the buttons. But you can see, look here. Be careful. They removed this orbit dribbling. This is this orbit dribbling that they removed also. Don't worry about the goal. I just wanted to show you something here. This thing that people are doing is like they're going like this. This can make you run away from the ball because you're basically forcing your player to go in a frenzy. So people are saying use this new type of dribbling. I don't know what people are talking about. This is not a new type of dribbling, by the way. Shielding and holding the R1 button is not, because when you use it off the ball, as you can see, your player goes into freeform. What freeform is, like doing a super cancel, is running away from the ball. So you don't want to go into freeform. People are doing that inadvertently. Again, don't worry about the goals here. This is just a dribbling tutorial. Now, next, when you're trying to dribble, you want to go into the space and only turn forward when there's a space. Like here, see that gap there? Then I can turn into it, you see? So I'm always going backwards. This is how a lot of top tier players do it. Now, you'll find the worse the player is, the easier it is to dribble. If you verse someone on a top tier level, it's very hard to dribble. But you can see, like here, I'm waiting for my opponent to overcommit like that. They've overcommitted. Look, see, waiting. Are they overcommitted? Yes. And then I can go into that space. You see that? So I'm waiting for my opponent to overcommit. Overcommitting? Yes. So what you're doing is just saying to your opponent, overcommit first, then I'm going to turn into the space. Just like in real life. You wait for your opponent to overcommit, and of course you want to do a skill move like that. You can. I'm not saying you can't do a skill move. Skill move is very, very effective inside the box for turning. One of my favorite things to do is a ball roll turn, but just be careful with it this year, because the ball roll turn, it's not as agile. You can see, look how quickly I turn the ball around. Where if I try to turn around the ball normally, see my player kind of flicks the ball to the right hand side. But with a ball roll turn, look, you control the ball and you turn it around. You see that? Control the ball, turn it around. So I'm using my body to shield. See how I'm using my body to shield the ball? Now, I don't use the L2 button. Now, the L2 button, is it useful? But yes and no, because you can see, look, my opponent can still get the ball. You might be like, oh, Neil, but you're doing it wrong. You need someone who's tall. Well, even if I give the ball to someone like De Jong as an example, right? Watch, I'm going to hold the L2 button. First of all, my player starts going around the ball when I don't want that. Second of all, if there's two players next to me, I could be in big trouble. I got away with that, to be honest. But I don't use the left stick L2 button. What I do is I just use my natural left stick. I use my natural body and movement to shield the ball. You see that? So they're going to tackle me. This player tackles me now. Look, imagine him tackling me. He's going to hit me from behind. He cannot hit me from the front. If the ball is facing front like this, someone can win the ball off me. Do you see? That is where you lose the ball, is if you face someone. Now, if you want to see more videos like this, more in-depth videos on how to dribble like a top-tier pro player, check out my Patreon series where you can see my in-depth guide. But that is the key thing. Next, another thing people ask me is, what about using the run button? Now, this is the biggest mistake I see. You know, people are doing this. And a lot of, trust me, I promise you one thing, right? Go into a game, go record your gameplay back. How many times do you think you're running with the run button in your own half? Unbelievable amounts. I can guarantee you, you're running so much in the game right now. So much. It is a big problem. And people always go to me, well, I got 90 sprint speed, 90 acceleration. Well, this is the thing. What happens in the lower tier level is that, let's say you're versing my grandma, who doesn't even know how to hold a controller, right? But let's say you're versing my grandma. You're going to run past her because she doesn't even know how to even use any buttons. She probably doesn't even know how to jockey, doesn't know anything. So what I'm trying to say is, if you verse my grandma, you can be the worst player in the world. You're probably still going to beat her if you play the game at least to some level and she's never played it before. But once you verse someone that knows what they're doing, it's not going to work. So people say to me, oh, Neil, but when I run all the time, it works against players in Division 5 and Division 6. That's because they don't know what they're doing. If you had a race with people driving, let's say you took a Formula 1 race, you had the fastest car in the world, right? And let's say you're having this race with a bunch of people that have never driven a car before in your life. You're going to beat them. Now, let's say if I gave you the fastest Formula 1 car in the world, but I was versing you against Lewis Hamilton. Schumacher at his peak. Are you going to win the race? Yeah, with the fastest car, you might turn, you at the first corner, you might overtake everyone, but throughout the whole period, you're going to get taken. So you have to understand, you need to know, when you're playing at someone who knows what they're doing, things are not going to work as they would. So what you get away with in the early divisions won't work later on. Like, here at Neymar, look, left stick, you can see I'm smoothly going. Now look, I'm going to overuse this now just to show you a bit of an example. I can see the space using the run button. Then I can see I'm going to use control sprint just to get into that angle over there. Then I'm going to use a fake shot here. Then I'm going to turn away this way. Then I'm going to wait for a little bit of trickery. I'm going to turn away this way. I'm going to use a bit of strafe dribbling. Then I'm going to speed boost into the area. Then I'm going to ball roll around the goalkeeper. And then I should have taken a shot. Should have been a goal, to be honest. But you see how I've combinationally used everything. But you see the main thing I'm trying to do is avoid the defender. One of the most game-changing videos that people always say to me on the Patreon series, how to take a touch away and how to never lose the ball. So you can see, like here, look. And also one thing, dribbling this year is a bit finicky. So what you get away with last year, you can't. So you can see now I'm completely going away. You see, I'm not even attempting to go for the gap. See, my opponent is running back now because they just know they can't get the ball. So when someone's in control of the ball and you know how to maneuver, it's very difficult. Like you can see when my opponent is winning, trying to get the ball. Look, see, like here, I know I can't turn backwards. So you see, I'm having a sprint away. Now you see that? How I sprinted away. That is actually a mistake that I made. I'm going to show you an example in a second, right? Let's go to the highlights, right? Now, turn off the controller for a second. Do you know why I lost the ball here? After you watch this entire video, you come to this point. Why have I lost the ball here? Why have I lost the ball here? In fact, let's change the tele camera angle, a bit easier to see. Why have I lost the ball here? I'm giving you 10 seconds in the chat to write it down. Okay? So pause this video and write it down. Let's see if everyone has the same answers. Okay? Now you can see, for example, like here, I took a touch where the defender is. Now this is the thing. A lot of people, they hold the ball too much. If there's players close to you, don't get overconfident. Because once you play someone that knows what they're doing, they're going to be able to close you out. 3 players around you, got to pass the ball away. You see how even I tried to sprint into the angle, trying to force it too much? Where did it get me? It got me nowhere. So when there's someone next to you and you can't get through them, you have to pass the ball backwards. A lot of people think, oh, I need to go from A to Z, A to Z. In real life football, do players just go from their half to the end? Yeah, they counter-attack here and there. But when it's a full team, they have to go backwards. You have to do the same. If you could dribble here and you got, look, okay, I got no one here to go. There's a space in the middle. Okay, maybe I can try to create a space. But if you can't, then you got to go around. You see that? See, I got to go around. And the longer you take, the more pressure you put yourself under. But if you're quick and you'd be like, okay, can I go forward here? No, I can't. But I can go around. But I want to quickly pass the ball. That way my opponent can't think about it. And then I can break through the middle. You see that? I'm going to trigger that play very early. I'm going to pretend to go that way. A bit of deception. Then I'm doing an L1 triangle. I'm going to try to catch my opponent off guard. So do you see how everything, when you're quicker, your opponent can't think what you're doing. The longer you stay on the ball, the longer you give your opponent time to think and close the gap down, it's easier. Look, I'm giving my opponent time to think. They're going to see, look, my opponent smartly used teammate contain to close me down. See, look, my opponent's now going to switch to striker. The longer I take, look, 2 players are coming onto a team. It's actually a pretty decent guy at pressing. You see, look, 2 players come onto me. But the quicker I am, if I see the 2 players, I can maneuver. I can then go around. You see, because then my players have to switch players. Look, my player's going to have to switch players, and that player will just see. Then that opens up Neymar. You see that? So I'm playing on that player to switch. Trigger that player here at the bottom. Look, giving me more options. Now that player's tracked in. That should have been to Batcher, by the way, that pass. And you can see, look here, I've actually given the ball away in a risky situation. You got to be smart. I got a video on defending, by the way, if you want to see how to not lose the ball when you're defending. I'll try to defend a cutback here. But like here, look, see, I can see a play up front. I can see, look, I got space in front of me. So I'm going to run now because only space in front of me. Now I'm going to turn around. See, I'm not even going to attempt to beat the player. Don't take that risk. I can see that player going forward. Now I'm going to go around. See, I'm just going to pass the ball back, bounce the ball back, but that gives me space to pass the ball to Son. You might have to rewind that clip. I'm speaking so fast because the game's moving so quickly as well. These videos are actually very hard to do, by the way. Again, I can see, for example, there's a player outside the box, De Jong. And if I take too long, the game's going to change. So I'm just going to wait. I can see this ball to my striker. I can take a fake shot, and then I can go for the shot. That should be a goal, but you know how bad finishing is this year. But do you see how the quicker you are, the more responsive you are, the more you understand, the more you see the game. And that is why the co-op camera angle is so important. People go to me, oh, Neil, but I can play with the tele broadcast camera. Listen, you're not a pro player. I want to show you an example, right? Let's get the ball out of play, for example, okay? Let's go over here to settings, okay? We're going to go to game settings, okay? Now, with the co-op camera angle, you can see everything on the pitch, okay? You can see everything, okay? The better the height, as you can see, the better perception you have. The more zoomed in you see less of the pitch, giving you less options. Now, what people do is they will use, for example, the tele co-op camera angle, okay? Or tele broadcast, should I say. Now, This may be good for dribbling, but what's going on the bottom half of the pitch? Now, how do the top tier players play with it, you may ask me? Well, the difference is they look at the radar, but they know, for example, they know how to play this game and not look at the screen. If you can play the game without looking at the game and only looking at the radar, then you're a top tier player. But a lot of people can't. It's like, here, what's going on? I'm glancing at the radar now. So like, I can't see what's going on the right hand side. So I'm a lot of the top tier players right now, they're glancing. So I'm glancing down every 3 seconds. I'm glancing down. If I want to select a player, I'm glancing down. And you see my opponent here just thinks I'm taking a mickey. But you see, like here, when I'm looking down, it's very, very difficult. Yeah, it's easy, but like here, when I'm getting pressured, for example, like here, I can't see him. I can see there's a player there on the left hand side on the radar, but when I had the ball in that position, I can't see that player. Look at Neymar. It's going to go off screen. Look at the radar. Neymar is free. I can't see that. So do you see? Yes, this is better for dribbling, you could argue, but I can't see these players. So you're going to put more pressure on yourself. But if I know, for example, like here, that player is free. I know that player can then be free. That can then release that player. That player can be released in the middle. And of course, if you're a very good player, you could know, for example, okay, that player is going to be free. That should be my left wing, but Neymar's not running. You could release yourself in different angles. So it's very important to take all this into account. Well, that is based the video on how to dribble like a top tier player. So yes, it's a combination of everything, but you got to keep the basics in check. You got to keep the basics in check. If you don't, you're in big, big trouble. Hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget, if you want to join my Patreon series, patreon.com/nilguides, links down below in the description. If you don't get bet after 1 month, we'll refund money. That's a Nil Guides guarantee. But again, it's all about the basics. Then once you're a top tier player, you can do like all the small intricacies of trying to get into that gap, you know, trying to force this there, that there, that there. But again, doesn't matter how good you are. If the base is not there, if you make a stupid pass like that where your opponent's there, if you make a bad touch, you're always going to lose the ball. Even a top tier, even Anders, the best player in the game, is going to lose the ball. If you do a stupid pass like this, and kind of got away with that, and you take a touch forward, you're on big trouble. But if you take a touch, like here, I can take a touch going forward into the space because the space available, then it's a different situation. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you very much for watching. Take it easy, and of course, catch you next time. Don't forget patreon.com/nilguides, link down below in the description. Peace.